In early 2000s, a new show would take Kenya by storm. It was called Tahidi High, a high school drama that didn't just entertain, but mirrored the daily lives, struggles, and laughter of students across the country. Among the cast was a man whose wit, charm, and comic timing made him unforgettable. His name was Joseph Kinuthia, but to millions of viewers, he was simply OMOSH. For over a decade, OMOSH was a household name. He made us laugh, he made us think, he became a part of our homes every week. Yet, while he was lighting up the screen, behind the curtains, his life was slowly crumbling. OMOSH was born in Nyeri County. Like many young boys in the villages, his childhood was simple, filled with the innocence of rural life. But deep inside, he carried a passion for performance. Acting was not just a pastime, it was his dream. He grew up imagining himself on stage, in front of cameras, telling stories, and that dream came true. When Tahidi High launched, it became an instant sensation. Families gathered in living rooms, students quoted lines at school, and teachers even referenced it in class. For OMOSH, this was the big break he had longed for. His portrayal of a comic, yet sometimes tragic character resonated with audiences. He was the teacher you couldn't ignore, the man who could make even the most mundane scenes come alive. Fame came quickly, and with fame came money, attention, and friends. But fame, as it often does, can be a double-edged sword. OMOSH's other companion, one far more dangerous than fame, was alcohol. He had started drinking young, and by the time Tahidi High cemented his career, alcohol was no longer just a weekend indulge, it was a daily need. In his own words, could drink 10 bottles of beer without feeling a thing. That wasn't a boast, it was a confession of addiction. At first, no one noticed. He delivered on set. He was professional, mostly punctual, and his charisma covered the cracks. But slowly, the effects of alcoholism began to show. Missed shoots, slurred lines, arriving drunk at work, and arguments with colleagues, and most painfully, distance from family. When Tahidi High finally came to an end, so did OMOSH's steady income. He had relied so heavily on the show, and without it, the structure of his life collapsed. Bills piled up, his children needed food, school fees, and shelter. But OMOSH had nothing. His addiction worsened, and soon he found himself facing eviction. At one point, he admitted he owed over 100,000 shillings in rent. He couldn't even secure casual jobs to make 200 shillings a day. For a man once adored on national TV, this was the lowest point. It was during these dark days that OMOSH appeared in interviews, pleading for help, tears streaming down his face. He begged Kenyans to offer him work, not handouts. His breakdown went viral. For many, it was shocking. How could a man so famous, so loved, have fallen this far? But Kenyans responded, from celebrities like Jalango, who pledged to raise 1 million shillings for him, to ordinary citizens who sent food, cash, and clothing. Kathy Andrews of Sangtimba donated a 40 by 100 plot of land in Malaa. Others provided building materials, vacations, and even opportunities for ambassadorial roles. The compassion was overwhelming. For a brief moment, it looked like OMOSH's fortunes had returned. Yet controversy soon followed. Rumors circulated that OMOSH had squandered some of the money, that he wasn't being accountable, that he was backsliding into old habits. Critics accused him of begging instead of working. The public, once sympathetic, grew divided. Was OMOSH a man down on his luck or a man unwilling to change? The truth, as always, was more complicated. Behind the scenes, OMOSH was fighting battles most never saw. Alcohol wasn't just a bad habit, it was an illness. His addiction was deeper than handouts could solve. At one point, his sister intervened, pushing him into rehabilitation. He spent 3 months there, detoxing, healing, and reflecting. It wasn't easy. He admitted that alcohol had cost him friends, jobs, dignity, and almost his family. Then came a moment of awakening. He tells of one night, heavily drunk, trying to cross a ditch, but he couldn't. He was too weak, too intoxicated, lying there unable to even move. He felt his life flash before him, and in that dark ditch, he made a vow: enough was enough. By December 2022, OMOSH had embraced Christianity. He got saved, not just in name, but in lifestyle. He began performing in schools, not as the comical mosh of Tahidi High, but as a living testimony of what alcohol and poor choices could do. He spoke to students about patience, about working hard, and about avoiding the trap of instant fame. Act because you love it, he told them, not because you want quick money or recognition. In 2024, signs of comeback began to show. OMOSH was involved in a film project in Mwea, set to premiere during Mashujaa Day celebrations. He was given an ambassadorial opportunity with Sang Timber, although questions arose when contracts remained unsigned. Still, for the first time in years, there was a glimmer of hope. But the road has not been smooth. Rumors of him sliding back, whispers of depression, and constant public scrutiny have followed him. Yet OMOSH insists his wives have not left him, his children stand by him, and he is determined to prove himself again. Today, OMOSH, once the face of laughter on Tahidi High, lives a quieter life. He is no longer on our screens every week. He is no longer the man everyone stops in the streets. He is sober and he is fighting to stay that way. OMOSH's story is more than the tale of a fallen star. It is a mirror reflecting the harsh realities of fame, the grip of addiction, and the power of second chances. It reminds us that behind every celebrity is a human being, vulnerable to mistakes but also capable of redemption. OMOSH may not be the star he once was, but his journey continues. And in his story, there is a lesson for us all, that even when you fall into the deepest ditch, it is possible to rise again.
Sema nini? Mbona ugonjwa za kujiletea? Hebu na fungua yako nione. Gaza ni kuchorua kuku na mwingine achorua.
Think about this kids. Nafikiri mtu atasabati. Nafikiri mtu yeye kesho atakula nini? Kwanza kitu atakula nini? Atakula nini? Sina ya kupatia kira
Niaje watu wangu? Kuna history na najua mnaijua vizuri sana, lakini it's good to talk kwa the horse's mouth. Nisikia mnaongea story ya OMOSH juu ya lifestyle ya OMOSH, vile story ya Kamyeso alikuja wako. Sasa nasikia mkisema OMOSH juu siku hizi ni hapa sana, lakini it's good sengine kuchapia hiyo story mwenyewe. Nasikia jamaa Hyundai gari mcheki, achana hivi next wako na kwa wengine, acha poa sana kwa wengine wachana.